Hello, yes, welcome back to another episode of the Chiropractic Student Podcast. Today we are joined by Dr. Austin Lawrence. He works at Results Gym in Abingdon. I've known him probably 3 or 4 years now since we started training together in the kairos training culture. A fun thing about Dr. Austin, he took 18 years. He's the longest standing student to complete the chiropractic course. And you can tell us a little bit more about that. But thank you for coming on the show, Austin.
Thank you.
It'll be great to have a little chat today. So first of all, tell us about your journey in chiropractic, what got you started, and then a little bit about your 18 years.
So my plan was I left school, didn't really excel, but didn't do too bad. But every school report was Austin could do better. And kind of didn't. I actually want to be an artist, to tell you the truth. And but that never happened. And I left school, did some retakes, did some A-levels, started those, and like, this isn't for me. I was bored out of my skull. Left, got a job. Job sucked. It was like unbelievably bad pay. I earned more in a day than I did in my first ever full-time job in a month. And I was like, this sucks. But by that time, I'd got a bit skinny fat, and then I joined a gym and thought, I want to do this. I want to be a personal trainer. So I quit my job, enrolled on a sports science course at college. Wanted to be a personal trainer, sports scientist. And then just before I started, tore my hip flexor really badly. And then went onto my shoulder, and just multiple injuries. I mean, if I listed them, it'd read like War and Peace. But lo and behold, I was a wreck.
Yeah.
And in the second year of the course, there was a FA course, Football Association course, sort of first aid, basic, and then intermediate treatment management of injury. And the guy running it was an FA physio, but he was also just finishing his chiropractic degree. And I took a shine to the injury side of things. And because I wanted to be an artist, I was good at drawing. I drew every joint, muscle I'd ever injured and labeled it. And I was like, lo and behold, I've covered the whole body. Yeah. So I cut a long story short. He said, don't be a sports scientist, be a chiropractor or a physio. So I cancelled my UCAS application. I had like offers for a sports science degree, cancelled them, applied to a physio, and all got declined, which I'm really glad about. Yeah. Now you can't actually touch a patient if you're a physio. So did a personal trainer sports therapy course, and then got into a chiropractic degree. So that was and I ended up working with this chiropractor for 3.5 seasons at Oxford City Football Club. Nice. And then he started treating me, and all my injuries were a thing of the past. So I applied to McTimoney, and that was at the time when there's a lot of turmoil in the industry. Colleges were closing left and right; they weren't meeting accreditation. Yeah. So this was 2001, and then it was so long ago. I applied to McTimoney via fax. I had an interview on the Thursday, so it was over the clock house opposite where our gym is. Yeah. In Abingdon, and that was with Kaleem, I think. And then they're like, we got an open day, you're on the course. So I went in for an open day, and then our first lecture. So I went for an interview on the Thursday. There was an open day on the Friday, and my first lecture was the Saturday.
They get you in, they hook you in, don't they?
So that was my first attempt at the course. So I was a supervisor in a health food store. I worked one night a week on a gym reception. Another night in the week, I worked in a late night pharmacy, and then a weekend night, I worked in a pharmacy and had to do lectures on top. And then a month later, I met my wife. So as you can imagine, I was a bit of a mess. I had a load of food intolerances. I was just staying asleep all the time.
Yeah, you were so busy.
So I quit. So that was a 4-year fully accredited course. I didn't know. I went back 16 months later. It's a 5-year non-accredited course. And then we lost the accreditation in year 3. So a third of our year left straight away and went to osteopath colleges. Yeah. We got it back a year later, but then loads of other personal stuff was going on. I was involved in a car crash, and that wasn't too bad personally wise, but the car was written off. The insurance company were a disaster. A couple of months later, the car we got was stolen and burnt out in a field. And just, if you could have made life as hard as possible, just lots and lots of stupid stuff. Like any one thing on its own wasn't so bad,
Mm.
but everything all together has just made like life just as hard as you get. Oh, and I got married halfway through the degree and got my wife pregnant within 4 days of being married. So had a kid. Had a kid, and then my wife's not working, so you've got one wage and another mouth to feed. So just things got harder and harder.
Yeah.
And then I ended up finishing the degree, but in debt, and didn't officially graduate. And I'll kind of stop here with all the other stuff because
Yeah.
I go on forever. But my wife had a miscarriage and kind of hit rock bottom at that point. And then kind of, that was what, 2012. So
Yeah, it takes a while for people to bounce back from things like
there
that.
was loads of stuff I left out, but that broke me. And then to cut a long story short, I officially graduated 2 years ago, in 2019, and registered, which was stupidly long-winded because I'd waited so long.
Yeah,
but
well,
every requirement for GCC was met, and then here I am now, busy in practice.
Yeah, you've been smashing it ever since. Like, I remember from day one. I didn't really know you, obviously, since you actually got accredited and started being a chiropractor, but I know you now, and I know how driven you are, and I know how passionate you are about chiropractic. And it's interesting to hear that because there's a few things there I didn't know about you. We just never had that sort of chat before, which is quite interesting. But there's a few people in my course, and I know from previous years, who have exactly the same, finished the course, but with chiropractic, at the moment, the student finance doesn't cover everything, so you have to pay out of your own pocket.
And we didn't have student finance when I did it.
Well, exactly, and so
you
have to fund it
mixed
yourself.
mode. Then the year after I left, it then went to full-time and part-time. So you got proper student finance. We never had that.
Must have been really hard, but look, we've got you now, and that's the main thing. And to be fair, you're absolutely smashing it in clinic. You're in an open plan. Is it open plan and results? Yeah. Amazing. Nice. Well, it's good to get you into the chiropractic world, and you're absolutely smashing it. And I like your journey as well, because I feel like you have a real understanding of chiropractic, and you're quite vocal on social media, and every time I talk to you, you always got something that kind of ruffles a few feathers. And I'm really excited for today because I know recently you posted that you've bought a load more green and blue books, and you're really interested in the reading of that, the philosophy. So I'm really interested to see sort of where that stemmed from, how it started, and what it was, some of the first stuff that you ever read. So if you had to pick a few books that really stand out to you, that got you pumped and motivated for your journey in chiropractic, like, what few would they be?
So going back to the green books, so I remember being taught philosophy at college, and I was like, man, I really love this. It sounded quite sort of metaphysical to me, and at the time I'm reading loads of books by Deepak Chopra, so it kind of had parallels of that. I'm reading books on like Love, Medicine and Miracles by Dr. Bernie Siegel. Absolutely fantastic book.
Is that your first official recommendation?
Absolutely fantastic book. And I remember learning the philosophy, and even though the college was going for a lot of turmoil, like really struck with me. And but I spoke to a colleague recently, and she'd never heard of a green book, and we went to the same college, but then she graduated last year, and I'm like, where have they gone from teaching philosophy, me thinking this is amazing, to a colleague now not knowing what a green book is? So I bought a load, and then I gave her The Glory of Going On as a gift. So the first book would be Healing Hands, the story of the Palmer family. So it tells you basically the upbringing of D.D. Palmer, how he then kind of evolved into doing the first chiropractic adjustment, and then all the crap that chiropractors had to deal with in the early 1900s. People went to prison for this stuff. People didn't go to prison chiropractors didn't go to prison because chiropractic was good for back pain, sciatica, or neck pain. They knew it was more than that.
Yeah.
You know, you can get rid of that really easy. Yeah, it's very chiropractic's very good at getting rid of that stuff. But chiropractors, the pioneers, didn't go to prison because it was good for getting rid of pain. It was greater. Yeah, we had the potential to alter human consciousness.
Yeah, it was so much more back then. So, like you say,
it was in its purest state.
Yeah,
It was
no
the
one
purest
believed.
chiropractic's ever been.
No one ever said that it was to cure neck pain, back pain. It was everything. Chiropractic treats the nervous system. It fixes the cause. It's above, down, inside out.
Yeah.
I think, isn't the most jailed, is it Herb Reaver? He went to jail like 13 times.
Herb Reaver Senior. Yeah, it was an insane amount of times. Yeah. He was going for like 6 months at a time.
Yeah. But his patients would like rally outside.
Yeah.
And like, amazing. So sorry.
And
so
he refused to pay any fine because it was an admission of guilt for practicing medicine without a license, which he wasn't doing. He was pure chiropractic.
Yeah, exactly. Amazing.
And then he ended up moving states. I think if he was jailed one more time, then that was the end.
Oh.
And then he went to Florida for about 15 years and then came back to, I think, Cincinnati.
I think he practiced on the day he died as well. I think he practiced and then went home and passed away.
What a way to go.
I know.
Deliver an adjustment. I mean, that's got to be the best way, isn't it?
Yeah, the last thing you ever do. Amazing. Okay,
Deliver an adjustment before you check out.
Yeah, that's my goal. Cool. So
I'm going to do this until I drop dead or my Pisces just
give in.
Disintegrate.
So Healing Hands gave you like a really good understanding of what chiropractic was as a whole and what they were all about, the Palmers were all about.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you have any other books or?
Yeah, I've actually got them with me. So The Glory of Going On is a great book. First chapter is actually written by a journalist from one of the local papers. And it's called The Man Who Made a Ladder of His Cross. So story of BJ. There's quite a good story in there.
Did you say it was called The Glory of Going On?
The Glory of Going On.
Okay, cool.
So it's one of the green books.
Yep. I've not read that one.
There's an editor of a local paper, Hugh Harrison, and so it's an outsider's look into what chiropractic is.
Yeah.
There's quite a funny story of BJ taking some rats into school and releasing them, and his headmaster expels him. And then later, he's one of BJ's students. So when BJ's actually a lecturer, tutor at Palmer College, his old headmaster who expelled him becomes one of his students.
I love that. That's the glow up, isn't it?
And chiropractic textbook by Stephenson.
Yes.
So that's 33 principles. The major premise is universal intelligence is no matter and continually gives to its all properties and actions, thus maintaining its existence. So that underpins everything we do. Innate.
Yeah. When people ask,
with our philosophy, we're nothing. It underpins everything we do. It underpins the art. It underpins the science.
Yeah. Well, when people ask me what I work with, I say innate.
Yeah.
And it takes a minute for people to understand because a lot of people don't understand what innate is, and it has so many synonyms. And I've been really getting into this lately. And Sally and I did a Reiki course the other day, and they have this universal life energy. And I'm like hitting myself in the head, and I'm like hitting myself in the head, and I'm like, this is innate. It's energy passing through the body, and I'm like, God, this is innate. And then Sig talks, Sigafus talks about basically how it's a synonym for God. God is this overseeing power. This is all powerful, all seeing, can do no wrong. It is always right, and the physical brain can never always be right. Yet your innate will always do right. So it's really interesting. Okay, yeah, I love the chiropractic textbook. I'm not fully through it, but I know the principles, and yeah, that's a great one.
But you've got to meet people where they are. So if you're all flowery skirt sandals and talking about innate, and they're not kind of receptive to that, you've kind of got to give them like an analogy, or they're going to understand. You know, like if you cut yourself and it's deep enough to have stitches, the doctor, you go to A&E and the doctor will put stitches in there, but there's an intelligence that heals you, isn't there?
Yeah, the stitches haven't healed you. The doctor
Stitches
hasn't
healed you. No. So but Tim Young says a really good analogy. If you stick your finger in that wound, it's not going to heal, is it? Because there's interference. If you remove your finger, you remove the interference, and that heals.
It's so simple, but yeah, makes sense.
But people then get that, don't they?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Okay, so chiropractic textbook
as well.
Go on then.
Fred Barge, Are You the Doctor? This was phenomenal for me. It just makes you really, really certain. You're a doctor. When you make recommendations, you say it with total conviction. You act like a doctor. Think like one, more professional. So this was a game changer for me.
Nice.
And it's a small book as well. It's only about 120, 130 pages. You can read it in a day.
See, I have not read that one, but I've got is it One Cure, One Cause? One Cause,
One Cure. I've not read that one. I've read Live a Life Without Fear by him. So that's my next one, One Cause, One Cure.
Now I've got to do the Are You the Doctor? I've got to get that one. They're just so expensive at the moment. I'm like, oh my God, like.
I know, I ordered it. I spent about 500 quid on books from Palmer a few months back.
Can you put a price on knowledge though?
Well, then no, you can't, because the philosophy underpins every single thing we do. It defines who we are as chiropractors. The reality is, it's been put into a pain-based paradigm, and people are going to see you because of pain. And chiropractic's phenomenal at getting rid of pain.
It's funny.
It wasn't developed for that. But at the same time, no one's going to come into your clinic and say, look, I'm feeling all right, but can you express my anatomy? Or I want to kind of just go into wellness care. So you have to meet people where they are. But your philosophy underpins every single thing you do.
But that's when patient education comes in, and you meet them at their pain, and then you take them on that journey of innate, don't you? That's
and that's
goal.
why they stay. They come in for pain, but they stay for all the other benefits that they get. I did a video, posted it recently. It was all the non-pain benefits of chiropractic. We've had my colleague had someone who came in and said, look, I'm having trouble conceiving, I want to get pregnant. And my colleague said, well, we can't guarantee this, there's no evidence, because we can't, because of the ASA, we can only say certain things. She went, but I know from experience it's possible. And then a few months later, she got pregnant. We had another lady came in. She was pregnant. She was getting pelvic girdle pain, and then she was going to be induced. She was in hospital for a week being induced, and her doctors, the obs-gynae team, were really annoying her. And she's like, "Screw this! I'm going to see my chiropractor." She got adjusted, and her waters broke in the clinic.
Just instant relaxation, letting that innate flow. And then
her son, when he was 2 days old, came in the clinic and got adjusted.
Amazing.
So that's a patient for life. She's like, I trust you more than medical stuff.
In my eyes, and rightly so.
Yeah, absolutely.
The amount of love that we give people as well, and it's not to discredit medical doctors. Like, they get into this industry for the same thing, for the same reason we do.
You never see a doctor,
they help.
Harold Shipman, go, oh, I hate people, I don't want to help. Yeah, it's just the kind of system is set up. So,
it's just the different approaches.
It's good for emergency care. I mean, if you break your arm, you're not going to see a chiropractor.
Let me toggle that for you.
You're gonna need to go to A&E and have that X-rayed, and then reset if needed, and then plaster cast, and then let the body heal. After that, then come back.
Okay, cool. So moving on to let's go podcasts. Do you listen to many podcasts or audiobooks or things like that?
So I listen to if I'm driving, stuff on Audible, podcasts. In fact, some podcasts were phenomenal in helping me when we went into lockdown the first time, because we closed for 5 weeks. Opened just like 8 hours a week for a couple of weeks before we opened proper.
Which ones would you recommend for like a student who's maybe just going through similar things, like struggling to get back into university or just starting?
For a student, there's the legendary chiropractor. What's the guy from Johnny? Is it Riga? I can't remember his name. But there's the legendary one. So he was I think he's just qualified, but he was a student. So
what's it called?
The Legendary Podcast.
The Legendary Podcast. I'll fact check it afterwards and make sure we've got it right. And
yeah.
You reckon it's Johnny something?
Johnny, you know,
it's okay.
When it comes to being asked, you forget. Like loads were hopeful for me when I was in lockdown and just making it more certain, because after my journey taking forever to become a chiropractor, it took me 18 years, and then 6 months in full-time practice, we get a global pandemic hit, and you're like, are you taking the pee? I mean, it's like Universal is just testing me.
Yeah.
So
that was good to get you motivated.
I did nothing for a couple of weeks. It was like, right, I'm just going to relax. I'm going to catch up on lost sleep. And then it's like, right, I'm not being defeated. I hit rock bottom. I'm going to come out of this and just
got to bounce back.
Smash it. So I listened to loads. You got to choose people that kind of resonate with you. And the two chiropractors that resonated with me the most, I've so many of their stuff. I was like searching YouTube and on podcasts, and it was Arnaud Bernier and Tim Young. They were the ones that resonated with me the most.
Yeah, I've listened to both of those. Tim Young he's come up pretty much every episode on this podcast as someone who's the most certain and most educational and most passionate people in chiropractic. And I believe that. I've never met him. I've never spoke to the guy. I've only ever seen his social media stuff. I've only seen his focus stuff. But just the vibe that you get from him, he talks with so much certainty that reminds me of people like Reggie Gold and Sigafus and even BJ Palmer and whatever. They just talk. There's no questioning it. If you question subluxation to Tim, he'd be like, no, like it's not even a doubt in his mind. There's no area for that.
Well, that improved my certainty listening to him. So I come out of lockdown, and then that was in May last year. And every rough I did, 100% conversion, everybody paid up front, just because it got my head right. So obviously I watched more, because that'd be the sensible thing to do. You know, it's like bathing. Just because you got to shower one day, you still need to shower the next. So I just kept rinsing and repeating. And then a few months back, I went into his coaching program, and then that just elevated me again.
It's good to write notes about things as well. Like some podcasts, I write specific, even if it's like a sentence down that resonates with me, and I'm like, wow, that, like, if I'm going to take anything from this podcast, even if it's half an hour or an hour long, I'll write this one sentence down. I'm like, wow, that, like, you know, when it makes your heart go fuzzy and it's like, oh, that one gave me goosebumps. Like that's the sentence that kind of got me going. I love doing that when I'm watching videos or something, and it only takes like 2 seconds to write something down. I'm not talking journal a whole thing about how you felt throughout the whole podcast, just a sentence that resonated with you well and that will make you remember that podcast is so good.
Yeah, there's certain things like, so Tim Young's mentor, Dr. Hugo Gibson, I mean, he's similar age to, I think out of all the kind of Sigafus, Ready Gold sort of era, he's the only one left. But God, that guy, you know, when you listen to someone, it's like you're in the presence of an absolute legend. So Focus, in the group, they record a lot of the talks from Focus seminar. So he was talking, and you're like, man, this guy just lives and breathes chiropractic.
Yeah.
You know, if you had been in attendance, you know, you would have had the hair standing up on the back of your neck.
Yeah.
But what he says is, you know, your chiropractic adjustment is your signature. It defines who you are as a chiropractor. And you're like, hell yeah, shit. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So get bloody good at it.
So get bloody good. Yeah. And practice.
Yeah. That is a massive bit of advice to students. Like, get obsessed with chiropractic, but find what makes you love chiropractic. Because if you're reading The Principles of Anatomy and Physiology by Tortora and Derrickson,
It was Tutora and Grabowski when I was at college.
Well, there you go. 18 years has changed. But you're not gonna. I mean, very few people I know who are passionate, who want to be a chiropractor, will be passionate about that book. It's these other things that's why I'm bringing Austin on the show. That you've given us insight into so many different things, and every guest every week has given us insight into different things. And this is for the student. This is for when I was in year 2. I wish I had these podcasts to be like, what are actual chiropractors telling us, would tell us to go and study, go and look at, that gets their blood pumping. Because I don't want to wait until I'm 2 or 3 years out of school, running a failed business, an unhappy associate in an unhappy clinic, until I find chiropractic. Like, it shouldn't be like that. It should be year 1, you turn up and there's someone standing there with an absolute get pumped poster with all these resources that are like, look, this is going to get you pumped in this way. This is going to get you pumped in this way. This is going to get you pumped in that way. Like that is something that is missing. And that's the whole premise of this podcast, is to get people pumped about chiropractic. I don't care if they're still studying as students. I know people who are currently out in clinic at the moment and they're like, geez, like this has just given me an extra little, they've heard of this stuff, but it gives them that little push to just go back and keep looking instead of being happy with where they are. So I'm really happy with like how we've got so far. Sorry, I just went on a bit of a rant.
No, that's fine. I mean, I wake up every day and it's like I get to go to work and do the best job in the world.
Yeah, but people need to understand that. Like, why is it the best?
That comes through. Your patients are like, you check some patients, they're like, you absolutely love your job, don't you? And it's like, it's not a job to me. I mean, I've done some crappy jobs. I've worked in fruit and veg stores. I've worked in a pharmacy. I've been a cleaner for student accommodation. I've cleaned like research labs when it was all like kind of organic chemistry. There's like crappy stuff that you've had to clean up. Yes. I've worked in what else have I done? Just probably had about 20 different jobs. Some part-time when I was a student. I mean, doing this is just a doddle. I mean, it doesn't feel like work. And I've done like up to like 70 to 80 hours a week at some jobs. And now I work 32 hours a week. It seems like I'm cheating, and I don't work weekends.
But you want to do it. That's the whole point. It's your passion.
I spent like over 2 decades working every weekend.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, this is just pure joy.
Yeah.
I want to go back on something. So you said about, adjusting. When you're in college, you should come out, being a good adjuster, you should go on courses. There was nothing like that when I was at college. One is kind of, went to McTimoney College, so diversified. They didn't even teach diversified. I was the last year not to be taught it.
Okay, yeah, it's different now, but yeah.
So when I left, it went from a mixed mode course and then distinct part-time, full-time, and then you're taught diversified. Because of all the political crap going on, I was only taught the McTimoney toggle, activator technique, and torque release technique.
Yep.
Which is pretty similar to the activator. It's an instrument.
Yeah.
And then we were meant to learn sacral occipital technique, but only BCA chiropractors taught that. So the BCA, because they hated the college, put the feelers out, and no BCA chiropractor was allowed to teach at McTimoney. And it's the same when we did imaging.
How lovely.
Yeah, I mean, what idiots. And then we couldn't get a DAC bar to teach imaging and referral because they were all BCA. So we had to get them from Canada, America, and Australia.
I think we still do that now. I think we still do that now.
I come out of college, I didn't know how to adjust. And then when I went to practice, it was even worse. I didn't know how to adjust. I didn't have an activator, so I couldn't even use that. And too many toggle. It's like, shit, I've got to learn to adjust. Fortunately for me, it just kind of the universe conspired so that we did the kairos training, and then we did it in the studio here, which meant I had to open up twice a week. So because it was down to me to open up, I couldn't miss a single one.
Yeah, we used Austin's space. Well, not your space, but where you were working at your clinic. We used the space there to train. So it kind of fell on your lap really nicely.
Yeah, it did. And that took me from not being able to adjust for shit to being competent. That was 6 months.
Yeah.
twice a week, 6 months and twice a week effort, you're going to get pretty good quick.
I'd say it took me like a year to actually be able to be confident, especially with cervicals.
I think
And that's twice a week.
The advantage I had over the others was that even though I didn't know the adjustments, I was still starting at the same level. I've been a manual therapist for 2 decades. So my palpation was better. I was used to handling patients.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the neck, you're still a bit kind of cautious when you're delivering the adjustment at first. But I knew how to handle the neck. I knew how to position the patient. So I had the advantage there. But I'm in practice, and then it's like, shit, I really don't know how to adjust properly. But you just, it's called practice, isn't it? So you've got to practice with people. And the only way to get better, and then you look back and kind of go, damn, some of those adjustments I gave at the beginning, they're a bit questionable.
Yeah.
But you've got to go through that.
Yeah.
But really, you should come out of college. At the very, very least, you should come out a competent adjuster. That should be a minimum requirement.
But I think as well throughout your whole career, so yourself, Austin, should be looking at the adjustments you gave a year ago in full-time practice and going, oh my word, I can't believe I did that. Because you should be now so much better than you were a year ago. Maybe not like, oh my God, I can't believe I got away with that. But wow, my adjustments are now...
Because at that time, you were the best you'd ever been.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're still delivering the best possible adjustment you can give to a patient.
But if you're not practicing and not training, you will never get better. If you're just going through clinic and just adjusting people in clinic, you're going to get more experience. But if you're not actually going out, seeking new technique, actually training the specific details of the technique, because you don't do that in clinic. Unless you're going out and making these extra efforts to just practice and train and get better, you won't progress, or you won't progress as quick as you were when you were practicing as much as you were. And that's something I really need to... I've just literally finished and I'm going into practice soon. And that's the one thing I'm trying to drill in my head is like, don't stop learning and don't stop practicing, because I've seen so much progression over my 3 or 4 years. I don't think I'm good, but I know that I can be so much better, and I know I'm the best I can be right now.
Doesn't it excite you to know what you're going to be like in 10 years? You're like, I'm just going to be, not in a conceited, arrogant way, but it's like, because you want to be good so that you can deliver an absolutely freaking awesome adjustment to a client, because they're on your couch, and they deserve the very best. So I'm excited to see where I'm going to be, or in 10 years' time. You're like, come this far in a short period of time. What am I going to be like in 10 years? Because I'm never going to stop practicing. But then that's going to be accelerated. I've never been on an adjusting course. I booked Syntropy, and then lockdown happened. But after that, I was going to do Kairos, and I was going to do Tim Young when he was back in the UK. And then lockdown happened.
Might be a while. I'm the same. I've never been on an adjusting course. No formal one, anyway.
No, but it's like, man.
Okay, right.
We practice. We have staff training, and we practice, and we did get Andy. We did pay Andy Vrana to come up and give us a day of teaching earlier in the year. So like we're getting taught, but it's not like we've been on a proper adjusting course, and totally immersed in it. So I'm happy where I am. I'd say right now I'm a good adjuster, but I'm not great.
Yeah, but you compare yourself to like
striving to get better.
Yeah, but you compare yourself to Tim Young.
When I was at college, there was none of these adjusting courses. I think there was an osteopath one that some people went on, and it wasn't even proper adjusting. There was some like sacral pumping and some other stuff. Kairos didn't exist. Tim Young wasn't doing seminars. I think the only one would have been MLS, because that was like started in the mid 80s. But when I was at college, the internet wasn't big. There was no social media, so no one would have really known about this.
It's so true. We take it for granted a little bit. We've got it all at our fingertips.
What sort of generation of chiropractors has got it easy? I mean, you see everyone on social media. Yeah, you can book a course at the click of a button.
Literally. So if you had to give one bit of advice to a student like who knows nothing, let's assume they don't even know what innate is, a subluxation is, they don't understand anything about that. What would be either one resource or one bit of advice that you would give to your average Joe year 1, year 2 student? What would be the one thing?
First, you'd want to go to a college that is actually vitalistic. which are few and far between. But then you wouldn't know to choose that if you didn't know
No,
what an
let's
was.
assume they don't. What would be, they come up to you and go,
Um,
Austin, help me. And you say, do this one thing first. What would that one thing be?
Start reading the green books.
Start
So,
reading the green books.
Chiropractic textbook by Stephenson. Read that.
Brilliant. And fundamentally, this is who that podcast is aimed at. Those students who have no idea what they're doing. I'm trying to push this out to those students year 1 and year 2. But to even get them to listen to a bloody podcast is like getting blood out of a stone.
Yeah.
So reading the green books, I completely agree. That's pretty much how I got into the whole thing, because it gives you an understanding of the art, the philosophy, and the science. Really awesome. Cool. We'll wrap it up there. We've gone on for ages. We've got some really brilliant, insightful stuff, some amazing resources for all of the students. And you've really given us like a bit of a spin on, I guess, just the clinic world. You've given us a little bit more of an insight on what it's like to be out in the clinic environment, and for the students to get pumped about some stuff. Like Austin is so pumped. If people want to come and see you, reach out to you, how can they do all these things? What's the best way for them to get in touch, if they're allowed to get in touch with you?
They can come and observe. They would need to send an email to support@resultsalign.co.uk. They can come and observe us.
I'll pop it all in the notes. Yeah.
That's probably the best thing to do.
Yeah.
I've got a page on Facebook, but I set it up, but I haven't really posted as much as I should. So you can follow me on Dr. Austin Lawrence DC on Facebook.
Yeah.
Started making more regular posts on there, and I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I'll be posting and putting content out on that.
Good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, I guess people just, hopefully you've taken lots from this podcast. Go and check out Austin. Go and check out the whole of the Results Align gym in Abingdon. It's really close for anyone in McTimoney. Same as Bournemouth and Wales. It's actually really like probably just over an hour for both of those to come. So it's really worth it. There's some really good doctors there. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show, Austin.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Cheers, buddy. Bye.